Funding for Dr. J's self-help is provided by Clowns Against Feldman. Seriously, if you see her, let us know. It's Dr. J's self-help! Hello and welcome to Dr. J's self-help. I, as always, am Dr. J, alongside Catherine, the biggest pile of human garbage.
Joker, everything was going so well with you not calling names this week. I was hoping to continue the progress.
Actually, it was a couple of weeks ago, and that's because we had the worst guest alive in Cloris Feldman. But this week we have a returning favorite, Mr. Harvey Dent, a.k.a. Two-Face.
Favorite, right.
Well, I have a lot more favorite than a couple of weeks ago, let me tell you.
So just offhandedly, she never actually was seen leaving the building, so there is a possibility she's still here.
No. You did increase security, right?
Yes, we did.
Okay, good. We cannot have her in this productive room. I've actually gotten complaints from some of our viewers.
Oh. Glad we still have viewers. How delightful. So any updates from either of you? I was on vacation, so I didn't see either of you last week. Anything I've missed?
Well, for starters, I, for one, have started a brand new organization. It's for helping people, and I think it's something you will be a big fan of. Clowns Against Feldman. CAF, Clowns Against Feldman. It's gaining a lot of traction, and I'm very proud of it. It's a small organization bent to making Cloris Feldman's life a living hell.
Well, I'm glad you're being productive. And yourself, Mr. Two-Face?
Well, I've been keeping busy here at Arkham. I started another organization, not in competition with the Jokers here. Mine is gambling 4 years off your sentence.
Oh, now, see, I've heard about that. I've heard good things.
Oh, it's fantastic. A flip of my coin here and you get your entire sentence commuted. And the rest of your life commuted.
Oh, now see, look at that. You are making strides. Isn't he making strides? Isn't this something as a social worker you should be really proud of, Catherine?
You know, officially I must frown on murder, right?
Officially. But everybody knows you've got another face there.
Taco one, maybe? You know.
Well, I'm glad to know neither of you have lost your senses of humor. It is very nice to return to. Genuinely. There is a topic that's been going around social media lately. Would you both like to talk about it?
Oh, yes, of course. We would like to congratulate President Joe Biden. Hopefully you're better than the last guy.
Yes, and in the spirit of that, it is the season, the winter season, where everybody's doing self-reflection, and in particular, most people tend to be stuck at home. And this, we find, can create rifts in the home, between relationships, between roommates and family, and even between coworkers and employees. So I've got some advice that's been circulating in my circles about things to do to avoid killing, figuratively, your close.
What about literally?
Again, I have to frown on murder, Joker. I've told you both this multiple times.
Okay, all right, fine. Frown upon murder. What about off the record?
We can go off the record when the show is done.
Oh, okay, all right. So some sort of behind the scenes look. Okay, I'm on board.
All right. Anyway, would either of you like to chime in on what's been floating around and tell me if it's actually useful advice to be giving to the people or not?
Mean to riot? Of course a good riot's always helpful. Always useful.
Maybe not that far. For example, some popular opinions about how to survive closed quarters in winter with your family is to create activity bags and little stashes of fun things for snow days and like packages of games and things like that. Do you think that's at all useful in this season?
As long as you make sure your stash is the one with the gun.
Yeah, exactly. You always want to make sure your stash has some fun in it for you.
Can not to go too off topic, but can either of you honestly tell me you've ever done something for yourselves that didn't involve violence or a deadly weapon?
What about extortion for money?
Okay. Two-Face?
Extorting a mob boss to get people their money back?
See, there you go. That's good.
Who were the people?
Me and my friends.
Well, see, there you go. It's not just you, it's your friends.
So doing activities together, that's your advice?
Exactly.
Delightful. For people in snow climates who get snow days and can often be snowed in for quite some time, they will have periods of time where they're not snowed in. So in that case, a lot of advice is to go out and do something like a winter sport or seeing a movie or going to the gym. Obviously, with times the way they are, you can't do that sort of thing. Is there anywhere that you might recommend people can go where they're not going to violate any curfew or lockdown order?
Okay, let me see. Go ahead.
If you find a nice abandoned building to hole up in where the cops aren't going to come looking for you and the mobsters aren't either, it's a nice, cozy place. Just got to find something to burn. Keep yourself warm.
And to further that point, make sure it's abandoned. If you're looking for something that's nice, clean, good-hearted fun, something that you and the kiddies can do, make sure there's no one actually living in it. Otherwise, you've got the whole squatters' law debate, and the whole thing just sort of bursts up in flames.
Okay. So, what if you're living with somebody and you can't go out, and there's somebody who was already annoying you before the winter, but you have to stay in the same living quarters with them? What do you think would be some good advice to get space and to not allow everything to boil over into a fight?
I'm assuming you mean without ending their life.
Without ending their life or a coma or, maiming, preferably.
So as boring as possible.
So the only thing I can really think of is laughing gas or toxin.
And without poisoning someone?
Oh, come on! This is hard.
Does alcohol poisoning count? I mean, if you get them nice and off their rocker, I'm sure it'll be a lot more enjoyable.
And you don't have to worry about them annoying you as much, because you can retaliate and they won't remember a thing!
Good fun.
Real good fun.
There's a line of questioning I could go down that I feel like I really shouldn't, so I'm just gonna ignore that. So there's been some humorous advice to get people to leave you alone, such as cooking with copious amounts of garlic and deciding to play music very, very horribly in a publicly shared area of the abode.
I thought you said no violence.
Yeah. Or pollution or poisoning. There's such a thing as noise pollution.
This is true. So I'm just wondering if you maybe can give more positive spins on that kind of more negative advice.
Okay. So here are some of this, all right. You don't want to play music horribly loudly. If the person that you are dealing with is a horrible singer, just invest in some earplugs. And some duct tape. Do with one what you will.
And Mr. Two-Face?
Well, you don't necessarily have to play badly, but if you play loudly enough, I'm sure they'll shut up.
Interesting. Now I'd like to, if you don't mind humoring me, if we move into more extreme scenarios. There are people who live in very isolated rural areas, and in this season, they'll get trapped for weeks, sometimes months at a time. Think of the Donner Party, for example. Obviously, things could be very, very extreme and negative if you don't have enough rations. But if you were to have enough rations, where do you suppose being trapped with many people who you aren't necessarily related to, who you don't necessarily like for that extended period of time under those kinds of circumstances, what do you think might happen?
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, I know a thing or two about the Donner Party, so let's just say the meat was on that night.
Interesting. You don't think there would be anything that would, that you could make a more positive outcome from that?
Well, not in that way. The Donner Party, they were pioneers. It's not like today where we've got a few things. Like the internet is a fantastic thing, even for rural areas. And you can use the internet to escape your world. It's not like you could just write in a journal about how, let's say, dear journal, there's this weird social worker asking me question after question. How do I get her to jump off a cliff? No, it's not like that. You can have those outlets with the internet.
Delightful. So are you saying that were the Donner Party to happen today, the outcome would have been different?
I would think so, and a lot more positive, provided they had the tools to actually make that happen.
Your thoughts, Two-Face?
Well, I think that if a group that large got stuck somewhere, they'd naturally split off into two separate groups. Gangs, you could say. And I'm sure they'd find something to do between the two of them, keep themselves busy. And teamwork, as usual, you can pull in a lot of, well, I don't want to say tribute, but you can work for the benefit of your group with a lot of people together. I'm sure you could figure out something beyond eating each other.
Interesting. I'm actually fascinated by the fact both of you seem to have a way more positive outlook on humanity with this situation.
Oh, trust us. In my case, I've been dealing with you for a couple of months. We had the guest from hell a couple of weeks back. In terms of being stuck with randos, I'm sorry. I could do a lot worse, and it's been proven.
So how do you think this would apply to the situation you both find yourself in, being stuck in Arkham?
Who said anything about being stuck in Arkham?
Okay, fine. Legally speaking, neither of you have left the building, right?
Yes. Legally speaking, neither one of us have left the building through legal means. Illegally, of course, but legally, no. And if you're looking at this from the perspective of being confined as a criminal, all you have to do is sit back and watch some Looney Tunes in the beautiful, beautiful Arkham TV room, which is ruled by me.
Two-Face, I notice you tend to take your activity time, recreational time in the rec room, and when we have the weather for it outside. Do you kind of rule over that area, much like Joker does with the TV room?
I was never much for ruling. I was always one for letting chance take its way, but I suppose you could say me and my boys do have a nice little grip on that area.
Do you feel any loss of the outside area, or have you adapted well to us all being inside when we're here?
Well, if you manage to steal some of the other boys' outfits, you can make yourself a hat and gloves, a scarf, and the outside ain't so bad.
Oh, and that brings forth activity time, which is what you were talking about earlier, Catherine.
Yes, it was. I have noticed several of you have been making interesting snow art in the outdoor area.
Yeah, you can hide a lot of nice stuff. I mean, you can make a lot of nice art.
Yes, snow angels.
Snow angels and snowmen.
Yes.
'Tis the season.
To be jolly.
Right. I know one of my newer colleagues has been remarking about how it looks like you're all making a kind of snow garden and suggesting that maybe gardening should be the spring program that we introduced this year.
Who suggested that?
Phil.
Phil? That weirdo from across the way? Started about 2 months ago?
Yes.
That weirdo who's always got this whole philosophical idea that everyone can be rehabilitated?
Actually, that's an interesting line of questioning, and one that I haven't been allowed to ask, but I think denotes some merit in asking, is for both of you. There have been instances where it seems like you constantly choose not to rehabilitate. And if you're choosing to be here, does that make you insane?
I think the fact that we're choosing means that we must be in some sense of a rational mind. And I think that when it comes to choosing to be here, it's because it tends to be easier to work outside the law to get things done. This just happens to be a side effect of that line of work.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you look at this place, like, this is paradise. I mean, I can network with friends, gain new followers, broadcast my way across all of Arkham and indeed the world. You know, we got over 2,200 views across all streaming platforms last week.
Fascinating. I will admit, the only reason why I am entertaining this is it seems to bring you some joy and self-worth outside of killing people, which is nice to see. Mr. Two-Face, you seem to actually be more introspective than your file says. I'm wondering how you feel about the level of care you're receiving when you're here.
I don't know if I'd define it as care. I mean, the food's fine, I suppose.
Interesting. Well, that kind of leaves us to the end of what's been floating around in my circles lately. So, anything left either of you'd like to say to the listeners?
Well, to be perfectly honest, folks, it's been a wonderful ride so far, and I cannot wait for what's going to happen in the future. Two-Face, as always, it's been a pleasure. For me, I'm looking forward to the big Valentine's Day special coming very, very soon to Dr. J Self-Help. Oh, and to the people who want to take advantage of Clowns Against Feldman, my ears are always open.
Anything left to say, Mr. Two-Face?
I think that, Clowns Against Feldman might be something to keep an eye on, that's for sure. I don't know about this whole Dr. J self-help. It's a little Too on the nose, I suppose.
On the nose? But are you crazy? This is the most wonderful way to help people through their pathetic problems.
I feel like you're the only one getting help by this.
Wait. You might have a point there. Catherine?
Yes.
Why do you still have this whole convoluted idea that this is group?
Well, I mean, we do the show as a group. Group is the terminology that I'm used to using. But it is a show.
Okay, you gotta pick one or the other, show or group.
It's a show. A group show.
I'm starting to not like this whole group thing.
Well, we can figure that out later. Thank you both for being here today.
Yes, thank you so much for being here, Harvey, and between you and me, I would hide the grenade a little bit further in the snow trenches if I were you. I've seen that rando Phil coming in through the side door.
I'll keep an eye on that. Or two.
Alrighty. Well, thank you all so much. This has been Dr. J for Dr. J Self-Help. Signing off.